Hello and welcome to ILE with me, Verb to Be. This is a short video on the hometown question that you could get in the IELTS speaking exam part 1. Now, the examiner is likely to introduce this question by saying, I'd just like to ask you some questions about your hometown and city. The examiner will then go on to ask you some questions such as, what type of place is it? What was it like growing up there? Has it changed much since you were a child? Now these are straightforward, meaning simple questions, but they are asking you these simple questions in the part 1 section of the exam because they want to see your range of vocabulary in by answering such simple questions. So you need to think about your vocabulary and your terminology. So we want to stay clear of words like big, small and nice, because these are words that are just a little bit too simple for the IELTS exam. Now when I say stay clear of, I mean words that you don't really want to use. Sometimes you can't help but use them, but you really want to try and use more descriptive language. So if we look at the first question, what type of place is it? We have to think of some things. First of all, whether it's a large place or a small place, we have to think of the key factors that make up a city or a town. First of all, is it a modern place or is it a historical place? So instead of saying new, it's modern. Instead of saying it's old, it's historical. And then we also have to think of the type of buildings. For instance, if it's a modern place, maybe it's a high-rised place. By high-rise, I mean it has a lot of high-rise buildings, such as skyscrapers. If it's a historical place, then we have a lot of ancient buildings. Maybe buildings, so for instance, if we go to the likes of Rome, for example, we have a lot of historical ancient buildings. History is in your face. And then we have to think of the other factors that make up a place, such as the culture. Is it a mixed culture? So if it's a mixed culture, such as places such as Sydney, New York, for example, then we're talking about, well, it's got a lot of mixed cultures. So there's the Asian culture, there's the European culture, there's the American culture, there's the Arabic culture, there's the African culture. A lot of cultures living together. A modern day type of city. But if we're looking at a more ancient and historical place, maybe their culture is very traditional. So then we can say they have very traditional clothing to the region. And then that takes us on to the type of food. Is it a mixed culture of food? Do you find food from all over the world? Or again, is it very traditional to that location, to that region? So these are the things we need to think about. And then also in terms of describing the feel, is it a quiet, laid back, relaxed place? Laid back meaning relaxed. Or is it a very busy and maybe hectic place? Hectic meaning very busy, maybe a bit confusing and stressful at the same time. We also have to think of, well, is it a place that is very busy for half of the year and very quiet for the other half of the year? So maybe it's a seasonal place where it's very busy in the winter, such as a ski resort, but very quiet in the summer. So these are the things we need to think about when we are answering the first question, what type of place is it? Then if we look at question 2, what was it like growing up there? What this question is asking you is it a place, first of all, that you enjoyed? Did you enjoy growing up there? What are your memories of that place growing up there? So for instance, growing up there, you might be able to say, well, if it's a big city, for example, then you could say, well, it was very typical to spend weekends going out into the city, enjoying everything that the city had to offer, maybe the shops, the theatre, the restaurants. If it's a quiet place in the countryside, then you could say it's a place, growing up there, it was a place to really relax and switch off and enjoy the countryside. Maybe if you're someone who really likes the countryside, you might say it's a place that you could go and do outdoor activities and really feel one with nature. Now, when I say one with nature, I mean you connect with nature. You feel that you're then part of that natural environment. So these are the things you need to think about. On top of that, you also need to think of, well, is it a safe place? Is it a family place? Or is it maybe an unsafe place? So these are the things to think about. And finally, if we look at question 3, has it changed much since you were a child? If we wanted to say it's changed a lot, we could say it's changed drastically. Drastically meaning a lot. If the place has changed so much that you don't even recognize the place anymore, you don't even know the place, then we can say it's changed beyond recognition, meaning it's changed so much I don't even recognize the place. I don't even know the place anymore. If you are surprised that the place has changed a bit or not a lot, we can use the word remarkably instead of surprisingly. So we can say, remarkably, it's changed a little bit, or remarkably, it hasn't changed much. And finally, we could say, if we're talking about a place that hasn't changed at all, and the same people that were in the bar 20 years ago are still there, and the weather hasn't even changed, we can say it hasn't changed in the slightest. In the slightest means it hasn't changed at all. Thanks for watching, and subscribe to the channel for more videos. We'll be uploading more videos soon on the IELTS exam, as well as other aspects of the English language. Please comment in the section below and tell us if there's anything in particular that you would like us to make a video on. And I'll see you next time.